Hey guys, Von Fry here, and today we are watching E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial from 1982, directed by Steven Spielberg, starring some people. This is a Netflix commentary track, and joining me today is Michael. Michael, give the briefest of hellos.
Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us.
Okay, that was a little too much talking from Michael. I'm just kidding. Michael's probably going to be taking the lead on this project. He may be more familiar with E.T. than I am. Let's go ahead and mention, not just get the reads out of the way, as Joe Rogan Experience would do. When I eat, I use Nork Flatware. That's KNORK.net. Use my promo code FRY45 at checkout to get 45% off the best knife fork combo in the world. You'll love it. Beveled edges, they don't cut your mouth up. Also, if you could bookmark my Amazon affiliate link and just use that whenever you want to shop at Amazon, just click that bookmark and then go shop away at Amazon. That would really help me out. I'll be providing that link in the description and in the comments. Go ahead, queue up your copy, your streaming of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Go to 0000 and hit play now. All right, up in the corner, we got rated PG, language and mild thematic elements. This was prior to PG-13. I'm opening up a Mountain Dew, not sponsored. Michael is watching this on DVD, and we're both going with the theatrical version. I believe that's what Netflix has provided. Any idea what that ET font is? It's kind of a childlike font.
I wish I knew. And all of that earlier, pretty sweet deal if I do say so myself.
Dee Wallace, Peter Coyote. It's kind of like we'll then put the kids in, right? Even
Yeah,
though
and
Elliott's
Peter
the lead.
Coyote, if memory
I
serves,
mean,
one
come
of
on.
the
Henry Thomas is behind Drew Barrymore in this. It's not like she was a big deal.
music by John Williams.
This is not Drew Barrymore's first movie. She was like an infant in. Oh, God. I was just thinking of it yesterday with William Hurt. Altered States. Yeah.
Right.
Kathleen Kennedy. When did
Uh-huh.
she jump on the Spielberg bandwagon? When
Ra-
did she get all up involved?
Raiders of the Lost Ark, maybe? A year before this?
You think so? You think was that the first?
About that.
Okay, watch this intro, guys. We're looking up at the stars, and then we're gonna kind of swoop down. And I kid you not, the very beginning of season 1, episode 1 of Stranger Things steals this. That is how much that show steals from Steven Spielberg. And in E.T., it's inspired because the creature comes from the sky, right? He's from outer space. In Stranger Things, there's no reason other than can we get people to subliminally associate this with Steven Spielberg? What do you think of the craft, the spacecraft?
Space, the final frontier. Oh, I'm sorry,
It,
wrong movie.
I think that first shot of it was that matte painting, and then we have, or maybe miniature, and then
Sorry.
we have full size.
It could have been a
At the
miniature
time of this,
painting.
Spielberg largely had carte blanche to do as he pleased, uh, just pretty much off of Jaws. Well, also Raiders of the Lost Ark. So he has two of the biggest movies ever made at the time. What, two of the top three?
Yeah, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, maybe Close Encounters.
I think in some ways, I think in the United States, the domestic gross ET outgrows Star Wars. So people would count that until Jurassic Park. It looks like ET. Have they ever decided what ET's race is called? His species? They have representation in the Galactic Senate, right?
Yeah, because we see the ET delegates in the Phantom Menace. I'd have to look into that. I'm still not sure to this day what their race is supposed to be. But this opening scene, it's just they're alien botanists or whatever. But I love how that just
Yeah,
right
I
from the
guess
beginning,
that's what we'd have to call them.
we've got all of this setting up some sort of tension. There's very little music playing. It's just this dark background of the opening credits, and then we fade right to the movie. It's nighttime, and their ship lands. They're somewhere
Their
in
ship
California.
has already landed. I mean, it's kind of just sitting there chilling. They got a little bit of a rave party light going. I mean, it's not the most clandestine of operations. Clearly, California with those trees, right?
Right. And E.T. wandering off on his own.
Yeah, as slow as he is, you'd think the others would have noticed you had a guy kind of cutting loose from the pack. It's not like your dog. You open the door and they dart off. How many movies have this shot of Los Angeles with the zero skyscrapers, but we're looking out over the city view? You see it in the Terminator. Uh, I saw it recently in Joe versus the Volcano. Also,
Heat comes to mind.
is it happen in Heat? Could, I guess.
A couple times.
Okay, what do we have here? Was that a Ford Bronco? I think Ford Broncos recently, or they're coming back. I don't think you can buy one just yet. Notice the biomechanics in the shot composition of how adults are handled. It's kind of like Charlie Brown. Like you can't see them. You're looking at this scene through the. It's not a POV shot, but it's observed through the eyes of ET, and that makes. I think in a way that makes it endearing for ET. See how the camera's so low, you can't see anyone's face. It's just feet walking by. I think your goal here is to not be afraid of ET at all, but he's certainly not cute and he's not cuddly. Supposedly the voice of ET is done by Deborah Winger, quite a big deal in the 80s, and then kind of just fell off a cliff. Did she even do anything in the 90s?
I'd have to look into that. Was it Deborah Winger? From what I looked into it, I think it was Pat Welsh. Who...
No, I have seen on television. There was some. It was on a television show. They said it was Deborah Winger. Maybe it was just the screaming.
I was going to say Pat Welsh, who, a little trivia for those of you Star Wars fans, was also the voice of Boushh, Princess Leia in the bounty hunter outfit in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
She was a chain smoker, which had that E.T. phone home voice she had, very distinctive. She had a very brief film career and just uncredited, things like that. But she got the job because she had the right voice for it.
The ship goes off. Couldn't they have found that ship a little easier? There's lights in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, you'd think they'd see it from a distance somewhere. The ship was just out there in the clearing. They could have seen it from the cliffside where they were.
And E.T. has been left behind. Look at that fog with the flashlights. Looks cool.
Good atmospheric effect.
Is that supposed to be Los Angeles in this movie?
I think so.
You're not really afraid of the humans. This outfit. It's not like they're military. I don't. It doesn't look like they're going to do anything bad. ET. This right here is kind of a wonky shot because you got this composite of these guys walking around. so they have a bit of an outline about them compared to the rest of it. I could imagine it looking worse today. I've seen so many half-assed effects in today's movies. Rated PG. We have kids smoking up a storm, ordering pizza, probably without permission. Drinking. Anybody? There's a can of Raid. I'm not going to assume they're drinking Raid.
Can of Coke.
Yeah, there's soda.
Playing cards.
Yeah, these are delinquents. They're gambling. One of them should have a Playboy somewhere.
Like, is this a weekend night?
I think the thing that ages this movie the most is the haircuts on the kids.
Oh, definitely.
And they're playing a Dungeons and Dragons-esque game, aren't they? So it's more Stranger Things lifting. When did pizza delivery start? That's what I have to wonder. It's 1982. We got pizza delivery, pretty occasional thing. But look, he can't be bothered to go up that hill and ring the doorbell. Was it commonplace to meet the delivery guy out in the street?
Good question. At least in this
I mean,
movie it
I think
is.
I've had pizza delivered to my house with them ringing the doorbell around 89-ish or so, because I remember there was a Pizza Hut promo with The Lane Before Time. So it'd have to coincide sometime around that. And that would be the earliest I've personally would have recalled having pizza delivered. The mom is kind of hands off here too. Just I'll just go about doing the dishes while the kids do whatever they're doing. I guess to get to Elliott's residence, he'd have to have one of the houses nearest where E.T. was. It's not like E.T.'s going to go to the far side of the area, although you don't see any hills or mountains in their backyard, you know? And it would seem E.T. would drop down to whoever was by the hillside, wouldn't he?
You'd think.
One would
Never.
think, yeah. Uh-oh, he threw the baseball bat. What are we going to do? You don't win at life. Kids are philosophers, too. How old is Elliott?
I think he was
He's
10,
got,
11 at the time.
how old is Drew Barrymore in this?
Let's
Or
see.
is it
This
one of those
was.
situations where a character's supposed to be older than she is?
Let's see. Drew Barrymore was 7 in 1982. So
Man,
that
I
makes
thought she
her.
might have been younger than that even. They could have, I mean, no telling when this was, how old she was at the time of shooting. Might have been a year, close to a year younger even. Dee Wallace, is it Dee Wallace Stone at the moment? I think at some point she was credited that way. She's the perpetual mom. I think she starts momming it up in The Hills Have Eyes and just didn't let off. Oh, great, you ruined the pizza.
And now she questions them at Monroe in the pizza.
You know, their clothes are not that far off from how people have dressed. There's a certain circular way about it. I mean, there's some shirts untucked. The jeans are fitting about how they do today. Now, this movie, along with Poltergeist, have a number of Star Wars toys in them. I guess the thinking would be, okay, that's a sort of a shout out to George Lucas. But is it possible that the Star Wars toys were so popular that you'd have to put them in a kid's room to make it seem like it was a contemporary kid's room? I mean,
Excuse me,
if you
sorry.
set a movie in the early '90s, the kids have to have Ninja Turtles all over the place, right?
Yeah. But it's also the time the sci fi bandwagon. Star Wars was such a hit. So anytime they can have a clever little reference here and there, makes sense to add it. But I think later on, when it's supposed to be Halloween, we'll see someone walking around in a Yoda costume.
Do you think there's a great reasoning behind him having a cornfield other than its mysterious set dressing? I mean, the cornfield is right up on his house. They don't have a fence. There's why would there be a cornfield and then a wall? Like, that doesn't make for a good cornfield. Cornfields need to be quite large. I don't think it's his mom's cornfield. I like the way the light, the kind of like bokeh effect, and the flashlights look. Do you know who did the effects for E.T., the puppet? Was it a Jim Henson operation?
It might have been.
You know, it probably said at the start, and I didn't notice, because a lot of times it'll say the credit for the effect of the creature in some of these films. I was watching The Thing recently, and I think it mentioned Rob Bottin prominently in the opening credits.
I think I saw Carlo Rambaldi in the opening credits. Could have been him.
Yeah, I don't think that people get mentioned in the opening credits much of anything anymore. In many films, eschew opening credits altogether. Okay, so there's the cliffside. It seems like we're kind of playing along with the geography of Elliott's house, because he's either by the hills or he isn't. And then there's a cornfield just for the heck of it.
Why is he luring them with Reese's Pieces, of all things?
I guess they wanted M&Ms, but they couldn't get the okay, and they went with Reese's Pieces. And it's one of those good trivia questions. I think now people know he lured them with Reese's Pieces, but a lot of people for some time mistaken it as M&Ms. For my money, I prefer Reese's Pieces. They have not had to stoop to jamming things into the pieces to please the masses. Whereas M&M's, it's what can we put inside the M&M, nonstop. The Reese's Pieces are pure. They will add them to stuff, but they don't add stuff to them. Not the fanciest of bikes. He doesn't even have any gears. How much do you think our house goes for today? If that's suburbs of Los Angeles, still got to be quite a bit, right? And who has a triangle
definitely.
table?
Is the triangle table still there, even?
Oh, I highly doubt it. In that color, there's no way that hasn't been renovated. Alligators in the sewers. The start of Drew Barrymore's Valley Girl accent she has retained to this day. Single mom is losing it.
Best insult he could come up with right there.
I'm not so sure if this would skate on a PG right now. It'd have to be a PG-13. You can't have anybody smoking at all in movies anymore. Smoking's probably an automated R at this point. Dad's not coming back. Whatever happened to oldest brother?
The actor playing the older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked into that. I think with the exception of C. Thomas Howell playing one of the friends, of course, in this movie he's
Mm-hmm.
credited as Tom Howell. They all had very brief acting careers.
Well,
What's this?
Drew Barrymore, obviously the biggest career of them.
Let's
C.
see, Henry
Thomas Howell, I don't
Thomas.
think anyone has had the downward trajectory of C. Thomas Howell because you start in ET, and then just from there you work your way down steadily. There are no peaks and valleys. It is just down to straight to video and guest roles on TV.
Yeah.
He gets into, what was it, Soul Man with the black face, and then after that things only get worse for him. But it never has like any kind of resurgence, nothing. And I would think that the name does it. Like, come on, C. Thomas. That just sounds too self-entitled to go with the initial. I'm a young actor. I'm just going to throw the C in there. No, don't do it. Listen to you, kids. They sure had a lot of fun with the flashlights in this movie. So much so that they tried to digitally erase handguns from cops near a climactic moment of the film, replace them with flashlights. Because the idea being that the cops weren't going to draw guns on the kids fleeing with an alien. Now, look, if you're a kid today, you get back on Fortnite, you forget all about the alien. In 1982, you didn't quite have as much range with the Atari, so I could see him being more obsessed with finding out more about the creature. I think today's kids get distracted by too much more technology. Oh, hey, I saw something one day. All right, let's get back to gaming. I mean, this kid made it a project out of it. Even managed to lure him back with Reese's Pieces. Which, if you're going to go off in the hills and make a trail with that, you're going to need a backpack full of Reese's. Maybe, probably even more than that. Oh, he collected them. He's not eating them, he's collecting them. What's the significance of that, though? So, hey, I saw you drop all of these. I thought I'd give them back to you.
Could have been they disagreed with him. Such exotic food, you're feeding it to an alien. That's gonna do God knows what.
It's almost like a playing fetch scenario here where, all right, I'll drop these. Now you come bring them back to me instead of eating them so much. The off-screen sort of operation of the arms here, I think his arms are longer than they would be when he's on the they're on the puppet.
Now, is it just me, or is the mom kind of sort of unobservant here? He's luring the alien into his house. He's awake late at night. She doesn't hear a thing. She isn't wondering, what's alien?
He's got a can
What
of
is
soda
Elliott doing
that's
out at
poured
night?
over. But was that a gag can of soda right there? This like soda that looks like it's leaking on the table.
Looks
I
like
think that
it.
might have been a thing at one time. I know that in the special edition there's a can of Coca-Cola that explodes, and it's like there's a CGI explosion thing. I guess ET's messing with it, and it has that kind of like early 2000s effect about it. I think the special edition was 2002 when they played with the movie a bit.
Would have been right. 20th anniversary of the film.
This movie has no, as far as I know, there's no sequel or cartoon spin-off or anything. It's like a solo property. There's no other efforts to cash in with this, but it did pretty good money, and I guess that Steven Spielberg thought, hey, that suffices. Of course, Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment uses Elliott and E.T. on the bike in their logo. But oddly, do you know the Disney logo with the castle? You know what that castle is?
The Disney castle,
Yeah,
like the
that's
name of the
Sleeping
castle.
Beauty's castle,
Yeah, okay.
which they didn't have when they made Disneyland. Sleeping Beauty, the cartoon, the animated film, wasn't out yet. So they were still working on it, and they already had an attraction for it. But it seems odd to me that the logo for Disney is Sleeping Beauty's castle when there's other properties that seem to be more prominent. Like it could be Mickey Mouse, it could be Snow White. I mean, if you were Steven Spielberg, wouldn't your logo be Jaws? Because you'd think, okay, well, now I have a big hit. Let's make a logo of that, and then we'll use that going forward. Oh, we're still kicking up a storm in this fog. We identify Peter Coyote by the jangling keys, don't we?
His character is even named Keys.
Oh, is it? Maybe maybe that's just the nickname, and not. It's not like his last name is Keys. Maybe. Spotting the Reese's. Does this give him a clue? And he eats them. That's a little much. Does that give
Like
him
it.
the clue that somebody else is onto this? That maybe a kid has gotten involved?
Well, that would have been anyone's guess. And you find a bunch of. Okay, you're out in the forest. You're looking for something. You just eat the Reese's from off the ground. They've been God knows
So,
where.
yeah, no, I'm not doing that. On
And
the
right here where
ground,
he
let alone
fakes out
in the
them.
wilderness. Yeah,
And right
this
here
is
where
a. Is this one of the early fake out mom sickness things? I mean, this predates Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Driving an Audi. You don't see a ton of 80s Audis on the road. They were pretty unreliable. This just kind of shows you that oldest brother's not a good driver. He's learning. So don't count on him to be driving cars. Or maybe it's saying, hey, later in the movie when he drives a car well, that will be kind of cathartic moment for him. Did she buy it, or does she know he's faking and just going to let him roll with it? Because that's how nonchalant she is. She just needed to go through the motions of looking like she was concerned.
and
Man,
Elliott
the
got up out of bed
sandal
and shut the
shoes on
blinds
Drew Barrymore. I don't even know.
right away as soon as she walked out the door. If you're faking the mom, you'd think you'd wait until she's, I don't know, out of sight.
Is much of E.T. puppet or guy in suit? I would think the walking out, likely somebody in a suit. It'd have to be somebody quite small. I like the natural lighting here, how they're lit in silhouette with just the sort of
And
ring lighting about them.
Yeah,
There's
not
no
just
key
that.
light on top of them, washing it out.
Like we're seeing different camera angles.
I think much of this movie has a natural light look about it. Greedo, the Walrus Man, he's going through his Star Wars figurine collection. "1982, I don't see a whole lot of redemption for Lando Calrissian in the mind of kids. I mean, he sold out Han. Yeah, okay, he kind of sort of changed his mind, but he hasn't done anything cool. Not like, and this is Lando Calrissian. I haven't seen the latest Star Wars. Did Lando do anything cool in what is it? The I don't even remember what they called it. The most recent Star Wars
In episode 9.
episode, yeah, 9.
He's there.
I mean, did
Flies
he
the
just kind of
Falcon.
sit down? He just remained seated.
Pretty much. But again, not to go off topic, we've had this discussion before. It's with the sequel trilogy, it's all, oh, remember the original trilogy characters you grew up with? Nope, they're all going to be here in the background. We got these new characters to focus on now.
As I see Elliott try to get E.T. up to speed with living in America, this scene had when I saw X-Men Apocalypse and Storm was kind of teaching Apocalypse, hey, so here's how things work, and I'll show you the TV, and they use he like cycles through the TV channels to learn. And I'm like, that's like E.T. Pretty well behaved dog. I've never had a dog that wouldn't immediately attack whatever was weird. And not just simple barking like that. I mean, it would have been a fight to restrain the dog. I mean, I still get strawberries and cheese in those containers. As if it's not broke, don't fix it. Of course, Heinz ketchups looked like that forever too. That's probably been a plastic bottle. Milk in a carton, though. I mean, I don't even really much see that at the grocery store. I'll see milk in the plastic jug and sometimes in glass. The only time I ever see milk in cartons, that would have been in school, and I'm not even sure if kids are getting milk in cartons in school these days.
Or those mini refrigerator things where you just take something, you buy it from the cafeterias. But we're talking like mini cartons.
This would be a really small refrigerator, too. I don't believe anybody would make a fridge that small as a full-size fridge.
And the brother's back.
Oh, he knows he faked. The goblin. What all do we refer to E.T. as? Was it an iguana? It wasn't an iguana. It's a goblin. Would you tell your older brother about this, or would you assume they would screw it all up?
He brought the alien into his house. It's already established they're kind of growing some bond between each other. They feel what each other feels. You can't keep that secret for too long.
Wait, when do we first see signs that the bond links their feelings? I thought that might have been at the school. But
Well, it was a moment ago, too, when he was raiding the fridge.
The fridge had a effect?
Well, when he was going through everything, E.T. opens up an umbrella and it startles Elliott. That's when he drops the milk.
Oh yeah. This shot here is used a lot in the commercials when they, yeah, hey, we're gonna have ET on TV, whatever. It's Drew Barrymore screams at him.
And absolute pandemonium screaming.
Everything about ET looks pretty realistic enough. There is a way to go about making a creature that doesn't look like plastic, that doesn't look like just fur applied or something. You have to have, definitely has to be a squishiness about it and malleable, maybe a sheen to it, like, hey, maybe it sweats. I think part of why they go so far with the CGI when they do things like this now, they want to make something that can't look like cosplay. And the way you do that is to make something that isn't real. There's a TIE fighter hiding behind a candle. That Coca-Cola can looks like a modern Coca-Cola can. I mean, sometimes you watch an 80s movies and it says Coke on it instead of Coca-Cola with the swirl, but... So whose closet has all of the stuffed animals? Surely it's Drew Barrymore, right? They have, maybe it's a shared communal closet between the kids.
With a closet of that size, I'd think so.
It's a walk-in closet in the 80s.
Yeah.
After this, for Drew Barrymore, is it Firestarter and what was it called? Cat's Eye, I think. Did she do anything in '83? See, I don't think so. She hosts Saturday Night Live in like maybe, I don't know, '86-ish.
Yeah,
I just sneezed. I think this is my first time ever sneezing during one of these. I'm able to usually stifle.
What else have I seen Henry Thomas in? Let's see. Cloak and Dagger. I think he was in Legends of the Fall.
Been meaning to watch that.
And I know he
was he the youngest brother that died in World War I in Legends of the Fall?
If memory serves, yes. I remember seeing that in theaters just once so far.
See, I've seen bits and pieces of that here around on TV. I think that Legends of the Fall was really when Brad Pitt blew up. That's when it seemed like '94 was when people were really talking about him. Legends of the Fall, Interview with the Vampire. Antonio Banderas, also a big deal, circa '94. He's in Interview with the Vampire. Who's the only person on the poster of Interview with the Vampire? Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just Tom. I try to tell people that Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star ever. And, you know, you point to that as evidence. You point to the fact he's never gone straight to video. He never goes streaming. He's not on TV. All of his movies are hits. And he's had hits for close to 40 years as a top draw in movies. And then someone will say, yeah, well, there's a guy in Bollywood who's a bigger deal. And I'm like, no, because Americans don't know who he is. And everybody across the world knows who Tom Cruise is. I like the sass in the kids. They certainly sound realistic. There are too many times today where they make the kids talk like adults, or they make the adults sound adolescent, and then their children are smarter than them, and the kids have to lead the way.
Seems that way when you've got your demographic audience. Younger kids watching these.
Now that's the flower plant that E.T.'s going to use his botanist abilities on, right? Bring back to life.
Yeah, it's coming.
He's trying to find out where he's from. Oh, yeah, I'm not from one of those globes. I'm from the blinds. Yeah, I don't like his feet either, Drew. Her name's Gertie, right? Gertrude. I never meet a Gertrude that would have been anywhere near that kid's age. Like Gertrude is always a 90-year-old woman. E.T. the vegetarian, huh? How far away is his home? Seems like she's saying what's happening before anything starts flying. A little premature for that line. This sort of flying effect also occurs in Poltergeist, where it's sort of a composited flying shot. I know I've seen there was a movie where things flew in a practical way in the 80s and it looked more convincing, though I wouldn't say that looked bad. How big is their house? It must be partially underground. That's why on one side, I guess you have to have the driveway go up such a steep hill. Then it's sort of an exposed first floor in the back. Easily $1 million today. It seems like anything Los Angeles with bedrooms is going to be $1 million plus. So
Yeah, especially if we're talking a house that was part of a film.
I mean, it's not as bad as the Full House that exterior location in prime San Francisco. And there we go. Just kind of casually reading. Oh, hey, I think I'll fix those flowers. There we go. So you're telling me they're going to be on that kind of hill and have a cornfield? See, I'm not buying it. Check out the headset on the kid on the left there.
Yeah. Speaking of not buying things, word of the alien got out. Oh, okay, back when the Uranus joke was such a thing. Now it's the oldest one in the book. One of them.
Yeah, but you still hear it. I heard it on Holy Moly the other day. A terrible miniature golf show on ABC that plays more like Wipeout. Look at how obnoxious these kids are on the bus. We would have gotten a scolding at. The bus driver would have stopped. Everybody would have been late. The principal would have been called, had to ride the bus with us, like the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think single mom D here is not much older than myself at the time of this, which of course makes me feel terrible. I guess the creature has realized needs to hide from mom, though pretty open about being around the kids. I like that shot there. I like how the camera keeps going as though not to stop on ET so the audience can all look at ET, but the camera keeps swiveling to be like the mom in that shot.
Yeah.
not spotting him. Off
And
camera,
E.T.'s
who
just.
is our teacher? Harrison Ford, though not in frame. You can hear his voice here. That's Erica Eleniak, probably mispronouncing that, as sort of Elliott's love interest. She goes on, she's considered the first babe of Baywatch, but she left Baywatch, did some movies, Under Siege, uh, what was, Beverly Hillbillies, a few others. And I think this is her first role. And she's going to have a smooch scene with Elliott, whom is considerably shorter than her. They always seem to have the boys shorter than the girl when they do the elementary school kids, but it was never the case for me. Like, I was always one of, if not the tallest kid in my class.
Yeah, same
So I
here.
could never really relate to the way that goes. Look at the V8. Does that not look like a modern V8 can? Did they digitally replace the cans in this movie to look like the modern versions? Like, am I imagining stuff here? Because I'm seeing Coca-Cola cans that look modern, more so than they do in other 80s movies. Maybe Netflix has a modified version of this. That some kind of weird soft edit. I don't know. You know, when they had Back to the Future Part 2 on here, they had added it a few months back. They edited a scene. They cut down a scene, and it was quite noticeable because I was doing the commentary, and I was like, well, that was a really quick edit. It was sort of like a phantom frame moment where you had you saw something and it cut away within a frame, so it looked odd. And it was during the Ooh La La magazine that Marty was found in the trash near the end that he thought the sports almanac was in, but it was taken out. So they were trying to cover. They were trying to do some kind of edit. People called them on it, and they restored. There's E.T.'s gotten drunk, and so Elliott gets drunk. Crushes that can, too. Where did E.T. learn can crushing? Nuance.
And E.T.'s reaction
Look,
with the eyes
look
wide
at that
open.
remote. That remote is so weird.
Oh, the things you could meme from that.
That the remote control that ET has for that television looks like something out of a 50s sci-fi movie. Like, yeah, they're gonna go to sleep. That's what they're gonna do. Just going to sleep. Did you ever dissect frogs in school? And if so, were you 10 years old when you did it? Because I didn't.
I don't think I did until I was 13 or so, and I don't
think we
recall
did a worm bisecting thing at maybe about 12.
Maybe my memory's fuzzy on it, but I don't remember starting with a live frog.
No, we never did anything with frogs. Myself there. I have a toad that fell into my window well in my basement, and it's been there for 2 years, and it is huge. And there's another little frog has fallen in there too, and it's a typical frog toad size, but this other one is big. Look at how good E.T.'s eyes look. They have a gooey film over them. It's no Mac and Me, that's for sure. Mac and Me, clearly one of the movies trying to ride off of the E.T. wave. There were several films in the 80s, and I would think that maybe E.T. is the first to make, hey, let's all make movies for kids a big thing. Oh, E.T. made all this money, so let's put some actual effort into making good kids movies, and I think E.T. is responsible for that wave. And then there are also some that are more so try to knock off E.T. Like I mentioned, Mac and Me. There's other ones where it seems like the kids have a prominent role of some kind of creature. But for me, E.T. was not a big deal in my childhood. I mean, saw it a few times in a daycare. That was about it. I much more preferred the Neverending Story.
Same here. It was one of those movies where I'd watch a couple times, then I'd remember it, watch it again. It was never a frequent movie I'd watch.
So suddenly, E.T. has charmed Elliott into freeing the frogs. Can't let him die. But that it's kind of hard to read it that way because like you see E.T. just doing other things.
If
What
they're
movie
feeling
is he watching
something,
there?
where do they go from ET's reading comics, ET's watching TV, he's fiddling with the
Okay,
whatever you call
so
those things, the speaker things.
this girl that they have all shoved the frogs towards her feet, she's freaked out about it, but she's holding two frogs at the same time. So how freaked out can she be? Oh, here we go. Yeah, the wind kicks around, and so it um you can't really recreate that based on the feelings there. You have to have somebody try to get out the door, and you need some wind too. Not as much control over the wind for Elliott in this scene. And you see Elliott getting led off. Was he being held by the ear as he goes to the principal? That was definitely a thing. Teachers used to like hold kids by the ear and throw them around. Oh, you've made a mess of yourself, E.T. Uh-oh, the mom's right there. You know, this isn't a particularly funny movie. It has a charm to it, and I think that's where the money comes in. 'Cause I think one would surprise a teenager if you said this was a huge movie. Because it doesn't seem like something that would have been that big of a deal, I guess. Because, look, a teenager, they're like, hey, so is there a superhero in this? Like, who was the big movie star? Oh, nobody? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No. And when they enter the kitchen, the refrigerator is closed. ET left it open.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's see, is that Schoolhouse Rock?
Basket, bandit, ball. Is she watching Sesame Street?
It's either that or Schoolhouse Rock. I don't know. Sesame Street had much in the way of cartoons.
Some things here and there. Just the things like that, letters, numbers. It would go back and forth between live action and cartoon segments.
So E.T. has learned uh, the English language through a talk and speak toy and a television in one afternoon, pretty much. There's that remote. I'll tell you, I've never seen a remote like that on a television.
Big Bird. Oh, okay, it is Sesame Street.
Yes.
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might.
That not being a dial phone is a bit cutting edge for 1982, isn't it? I mean, not being one that you have to go around in a circle. I don't think I've ever placed a call on a dial phone. It was always a touch tone, like something like that. I think she has a Cabbage Patch Kid there in the corner. The mom has really come through on giving the kids stuff, hasn't she?
Definitely.
I mean, you got the oldest son; he gets to be in the football. Gertie has toys everywhere. There's gadgets all over the house. Yeah, of course he notices the circuitry. He doesn't notice that the plant has been brought back to life. E.T.'s not dressed up as anybody in particular, right?
I don't think so. Just found a bunch of things at random.
I would think the gag now would be to dress him up as a celebrity, and then they would point out who that was supposed to be. E.T. Phone Home. Possibly the big line from the movie. A No Nukes shirt. Oh, this is in the days of long distance phone calls. You should have ran that by ET. We can't possibly afford this. And there is our surveillance van from. Did they ever say what their organization was? Government guys?
Maybe they will a couple scenes later. We'll get a better look at it in the daylight.
You can't turn a light on in your garage. Do they really need to be walking around with like shop light?
I always thought it was they have to keep the light dim for ET. Too much lighting, he'll be sensitive to it.
Yeah, he does get kind of freaked out by light at one point, but I mean, he does have some giant eyes. I guess it could work like that. Dad's shirt. Dad's one shirt he didn't take with him to Mexico. There isn't a real villain to this movie. I think some people have thought of the government guys as the villains, but they don't mean E.T. harm directly. It's not like there's some guy that we cut to and he's like, yes, I'm gonna dissect him and I'll teach those kids. You know, one of those scenarios. Yeah, I've seen many doors like that in closets, and they didn't have blinds that could actually work. They kind of had the faux look of blinds without there being any blind action. Oh, cut my finger.
And coming up, yep, right here.
You get a lot of this shot in the promos too. Hey, we're gonna have movie week on whatever network. Like quick montage of some stuff. See, E.T. certainly has a sheen to him. There's a slime about him. I wonder how an E.T. puppet is holding up now. Sometimes you see puppets that have deteriorated severely around this time. I saw a picture of an original 1980 Yoda that is having a pretty rough go. I've seen deteriorated puppets from an American Werewolf in London. I haven't seen much in the way of what an ET prop looks like. Now, I wonder if they would go for that much money, because this doesn't seem to be a movie that people talk about still.
From American Werewolf in London, do you mean the werewolf head?
No, his friend that died, and then he has various deteriorated states in the movie. And then I think when he's last shown, he's a puppet in the theater. And it clearly doesn't look screen ready now. It's very much deteriorated foam. Same goes for Yoda. The foam doesn't hold up, and also even sometime after that, 1989 Batman, the Michael Keaton costumes do not last. I think all of the screen-worn Batman 89 costumes have completely deteriorated into dust. That what was it? Was it a latex silicone or something? It just becomes dust from the conditions of light and oxygen can just turn it into dust. And what they've done is they have a props department over at Warner Brothers that has ground that down and remixed it into some other molds to make new versions of the 89 outfit. So if you are collecting superhero gear, the thing you really want to go for is that Christopher Reeve his Superman costume, because that's not something that's going to break down. You can I saw one of those on Pawn Stars recently, and it was in mint condition. It was screen used. And yeah, sure, it doesn't look as cool maybe as Batman's, but it's older and it's the original, whereas you can't get original Batman stuff because it deteriorates. What do you think about their practice out here for Halloween? We got a murdered hobo. Mom is doing the sexy cat lady thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, is she gonna go to a swingers party, try to pick up a man while the kids are out getting candy before sundown?
Could be.
They
She's
have
in the right costume
convinced
for it.
the mom that Gertie is in the odd ghost costume, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are out there way too early for me to be offering candy. We don't have anybody come down till a bit later. I think typically when we do Halloween around my place, it's like, I don't know, 7 to 8, or 6 to 8 maybe, or 9. There's certainly
Same
a window.
here. It's not daytime.
I think we'll see some sort of licensed character costumes here. We come across a Yoda, don't we? And E.T. is all like, "Hey, you look familiar. We need to talk about this Palpatine guy." Or maybe E.T.'s ready to chew him out. Like, I can't believe you were on Palpatine's side. You should have known. Why didn't you stop him from getting supreme control over the Senate? See, home. You destroyed home. That's what he's blaming him for.
What could the kid in the Yoda costume possibly been thinking?
Oh, hey, this kid just likes my costume. I don't know who the heck that is. Screw it. Also, I'm not getting paid the feature extra money, so I don't have any lines. I'll just keep walking.
And again, is the mom not at all worried? They go around the house doing whatever.
I'm telling you,
they
mom is
wander
hooking
out
up
at
with
night.
somebody. What time of day is this? We saw the sun going down, right? And now it looks like it's the next morning, maybe? Because that's clearly sky. And then he's going to hang out at night in the woods. It's instantly dark now. Instantly. Not a bad effect. There is some puppetry, animated puppet stuff to this. This is probably the best flying bike scene in the movie. The one later in the daytime didn't look as good.
And I think it's the first moment where John Williams kicks it up into high gear. We get the familiar ET theme when they're flying.
I was just thinking, you don't hear a ton of John Williams at times during this movie. Iconic shot right there. The moon.
Right. Yep. There
the
it
moon
is.
never really looks like that. I've never seen the moon huge. However, you do get a huge moon appearance, fake out in AI, artificial intelligence, similar name to E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial. You have a scene where I think it's Jude Law's character standing on top of a hill, and the moon comes up, and it turns out to be a hot air balloon that collects androids. Do you remember? So it works as kind of a fake out, because it's like, oh hey, it's the moon. It's like E.T. No, wait. Mom had to come home alone. No guy took her. And she's sad. See, there is a more ominous way to look at this movie, kids.
Where's Elliott? She's worried about him now.
No, I don't think she's worried about him. I think she's just sad she didn't get to hook up with anybody.
How long were she and the father separated?
I think the idea is that they are separated, not that we know for how long. But she's lonely. And with the stuff we found in the garage, we were able to build a working phone. Or does it not work, and they simply return for him when they can?
And put together some makeshift device that they can contact the alien mothership. Aren't the aliens, like the other ETs, wondering, oh, we gotta go back for him?
That's what I'm wondering. Did they... I know that there's like a Robot Chicken episode or a Family Guy where they're like, oh yeah, that loser, yeah, I guess we'll come pick him up. And it turned out like all the other ETs in there, like he was just the dumb one. Though it's sort of debunked by the beginning of this movie where you saw several ETs. Alright, so they have decided that this must be the place. We're going to wait for single mom to leave, and we are going to break into her house. Is that our plan? Still have not seen a face on any of those guys. We came close. We saw some of Peter Cody's eyes, but they'll still be waiting on that. Keeping their faces out of the shot makes their whole operation all the more secretive.
It's kind of setting them up as the antagonists, but they're not really the antagonists. They're just investigating.
Oh no, the branch is moving. That must mean something. I don't I don't know all of ET's biology, but it's like if he's left alone from his unit too long, he gets sick. Is that what happened? Because all of a sudden he just gets feeling bad, and so does Elliott.
We'll see. But he's all pale from being exposed to the sunlight, too. I always believe that had to do with the dim lighting when they're in the garage. They couldn't
Do
turn
you
the
think the
lights on. They
sunlight
just
made him
had to keep.
sick?
It could
Or do you
have.
think
Well,
being alone did it?
either one wouldn't surprise me. Because we'll see a couple scenes later when the mom does discover both of them when they're near the washing machine or whatever. They're dragging Elliot away, and E.T.'s kind of reaching out for Elliot sadly. He doesn't want to be away from Elliot.
Look at this. We're plugged in. We're not running on batteries. Oh, so okay. So what gets ET sick? We have ET is fine, but Elliot is a little cold. He's coughing. Does that lead? Is it possible that Elliot getting sick leads to ET getting sick, and then they just sort of boomerang between the two of them, compounding sickness? You don't have to go. ET has the super large eyes, but it's not a giant iris that you would find in a nocturnal creature. To really make you think that it can't handle sunlight so much. What is Elliot's costume? Is he a zombie? Because there certainly was a time, late 70s, early 80s, where the concept of a zombie makeup was gray face. And now E.T. has scurried off away from Elliot and found himself in a creek, right? Sort of a bad scenario for E.T.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wonder what got E.T. in the creek. You think maybe a large deer showed up, scared him? Maybe he wanted to learn what fishing was like. He was dressed as a hunchback. Really? That's what we're calling the costume? In the recent family problems, you don't seem to have a man in the house. My husband and I are recently separated, she says recently. My father's in Mexico. Ah, okay. Do we know what her job is? Or the husband's job was?
I don't think it's ever mentioned.
Do you think you're worrying mom and you're standing at the refrigerator and your kid walks in pretty close to you, you just don't notice until the door shuts for the audience to get the reveal? See, anybody walks into my house, I know about it. That's just kind of the way things are. I don't think people are always surprised by someone standing next to them, so much as so in movies.
Maybe so, but if they're all in the living room or near the kitchen, depending on how far away the front door is, he could have just walked in quietly when no one noticed.
I've
No one
never
would have
had a
heard.
front door that opened so quietly that you could sneak into a house. All right, we're going to trail this kid because we couldn't find the alien at the house. Maybe they're hiding him somewhere, right? You didn't get a shot of the officer that the mom was talking to either. He's off camera. So many of the adults you don't get to look at.
And he'll cut around the houses to lose the pursuing car.
They tried to do I think it was in Stranger Things where they tried to do a whimsical bike chase away from police also. Could have been something else I watched. Oh gosh, there was definitely something where there was a bike chase away from cars recently. It might have been a Stranger Things season. Got caught in barbed wire, maybe? Lost his costume?
And here it is where we pan down.
Oh,
See
yeah,
how pale he is.
He's looking bad, yeah. Well, he drank that bad water. He's got a raccoon by him even. Keys jangle in brackets. All right, it's time to tell Mom about E.T., huh? Called his mom Mary? Ooh, this must be serious. Now he's really pale. He was pinkish out there. He's looking more white ash painted here. We're sick, he says. I think we're dying. No, he's not from the moon. He's from further away.
Do they use a different puppet if it's a puppet for when he's pale like this? Or just cover the original puppet in, like, grease paint or something?
Possibly. There's something else I'm thinking. You know how they were he put the, like, balls down where the planet, the moon and stuff were? What was it where they tried to put I thought there was a show, a movie where they moved some kind of ball to some location to show how far away something was from the Earth. And I can't seem to think what it was. Maybe it's just some experiment type thing seen somewhere. Why dress in I can understand the hazmat, but this is very much more moonwalk attire. Now that looks more like the kind of gear one would have, but I mean, come on, if you're going to go on like some kind of spacewalk, do you need astronauts invading the house?
Where they're walking, they got them trapped in all corners, they're wearing the suits. Yeah, that makes them ominous, alright. in a suit, heavy breathing.
This guy's
Sound familiar?
that's a spacewalk type suit here. This totally not the way one would be dressed for encountering an alien on Earth. Home. We're rolling out the big, I guess, plastic bridge. We're gonna put plastic over the whole house, quarantine this whole thing down. It's a pretty cool operation. That would make for a really good haunted house. Quarantine haunted house. I could get down with that. Oh, we got keys jangle. We know that the guy with the keys is suiting up. And he's going to wear blue so he stands out from the other guys. All right, you get ready in the van, and then you take the bridge walk over here. All right, is the concern that E.T. has space coronavirus and that has could possibly catch on? Is that the idea? Finally, a face reveal for Peter Coyote.
I think he was one of the would-be Indiana Jones actors. Could he have pulled it off? Up for debate.
I don't have any problem with Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones. I don't think there would have been a difference in the quality.
But seeing the movies as many times as I have, it's like Harrison Ford, nobody else.
Yeah, but if Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones, then you'd be like, oh, they almost cast Harrison Ford. I don't see it. If you'd always had seen Tom Selleck as him. Now, on the flip side of things, if Die Hard was supposed to be at one point a Commando sequel, I think it's better that we got that as Die Hard than Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando 2.
Yeah, it's like so many movies out there with what could have been. You just have to wonder, what if? Where in the house are they that they've got enough room to set up all this operating?
I don't know. They would have had to move out all the furniture, that triangle table and everything.
Like, my house isn't big enough to fit all that. The living room, maybe, if they move everything out.
No, the house didn't look that big on the outside, and especially kind of the way things were divided up. And now this kind of looks like a whole nother location. And in actuality, it probably is. This is some set somewhere else. See, the government guys are just trying to understand what's going on here. They don't mean harm to E.T. That machine, what does it do? The machine's still working, huh? Or is he lying? He came to me so this is the future of somebody who was visited by an alien as a child, becomes entirely consumed by it. Becomes big ominous guy with a bunch of keys.
Again, is his character named Keys, or is he just called Keys because of all the keys rattling? And
I think he's simply called Keys with no mentioned name. Now, the weird thing is, E.T. dies. It doesn't kill Elliott, although their condition is tied together. Desynchronization of the we're unsyncing, and that's the indication that he's dying. He's cutting off to die. Of course, Elliott got pale with E.T. When towards the end, though, does Elliott get his color back as E.T. does?
Yeah, it's coming.
There's surely been E.T. props auctioned places. I have to look up what the going rate is for something. I mean, I would think it'd be a pretty good buy. At some point, Steven Spielberg will pass away, and whoever owns rights will want to make more money and reboot E.T. and that drive up some kind of prop value. The John Williams music in this sounds like a lot of other things for John Williams, but I can never really pinpoint the E.T. theme when I hear it because it sounds so similar to other things. He's like the music in the Goonies. There are definitely times in the music in the Goonies sounds like E.T. Do you think that they would have made off with his body by now? Oh, okay, he's dead. Let's wrap it up. Everybody go. Instead of lurking in the house.
They could have, but to be fair, we don't know how much time has passed here. It could have been a half hour, could have been an hour since the brother fell asleep.
It seems odd. It seems like E.T. was dying and dead. The brother goes asleep. We cut back. Now he's dead. So for how long was the dying process? I have to disagree with Elliott. I don't think they're killing him. What could he possibly expect them to do?
And right now they're doing CPR.
All right, the doctor with the beard there, is that John Landis?
I'd have to get a better look at him.
I think you got a good shot of him there, and I think it is.
It could be him. I'd have to look into that.
No. This is how you use a defibrillator on an alien. No idea how their biology works, if that would be a killing blow or not. Just gotta try something.
And right there where the shock and Gertie jumps. Good effect there.
The chest compression thing, is that a lung? Is that a dual purpose thing? Like, okay, it's for getting air out of the lungs, it's also for restarting the heart? Or is there really not a purpose for it in the case of a heart failure? All right, everybody get out here, walk out with your cones, your giant white cone things. You think those kids would be standing by on bikes, sitting with the bikes in front of the barrier without getting accosted by police?
I doubt that very much. And why is Greg being a douche all of a sudden? Ooh, they're gonna die. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I think with the exception of C. Thomas Howell, the actor playing the brother, the actors playing the other two friends, they all had very brief acting careers.
Yeah.
I think
See,
the
I'd
guy
have to
playing
look
Greg
up
was
what
in
they've even
Growing
done.
Pains. The actor playing the older brother, Michael, he was in a couple of things.
Well, I was
think he
listening to
became.
Adam Carolla's podcast a couple days back. He had a guest on, and they were talking about how come the SAG president is always somebody that was like some obscure person, or instead of like, shouldn't the reigning Oscar winner be the president of the Actors Guild? Wouldn't that make more sense? It's like, I want Leo as the president, not the youngest son from Growing Pains, seemingly not realizing that Leo is the youngest son from the Growing Pains. Well, a few months older than the second son, but he was added later to the cast. I think in the final
Yeah.
year, or just after, maybe near the end of Growing Pains, but not the last season, or just the last season. But he was briefly in there. They had a Growing Pains reunion thing, and then Leonardo DiCaprio didn't show up. Like, I mean, they did it in character too. They didn't seem to mention him.
Or as sometimes hard to believe as it may sound, it's one of those things where just some actors and actresses, they just hated acting. They hated the roles. They hated the characters they play. They just,
Yeah, if you're a
it wasn't for
child
them.
and you did a little bit of acting, it shouldn't force you to have to be an actor forever. Like, okay, you did a little
Yeah.
bit of there's people you run across on occasion that maybe they did some modeling for a catalog when they were a small kid, or they were in a commercial when they were 6. It doesn't mean that they have to do Broadway theater for the rest of their life. Like, sometimes you just age out of it. There's a lot of little kids that looked cute as kids, but you can kind of see they're not going to look cute as adults. Macaulay Culkin, for example.
And a lot of them, you see them nowadays. If you just met them off the street, you never would have guessed who they are. I think one example, the boy from Neverending Story, Atreyu. Have you seen
The
pictures of him
Atreyu,
lately?
he has a lot of
Yeah, Atreyu.
tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen him lately? If I just met him off the
Yeah,
street, I never
I
would have guessed it was
saw
him.
I saw a picture of him a few years back. He had a ton of tattoos. Tammy Story. I don't remember her last name, but the childlike empress from Neverending Story. I think she gets into ballerina stuff, and she doesn't look too dissimilar now. The other boy, though, who I think was also in Cocoon, the kid who reads the book, Bastion, no idea what he looks like as an adult. They've already got E.T. on ice, dry ice. Gonna give him one final look, huh? What do you think of E.T. coming back to life to change the direction of the story from sad? So we seem to have faked in a sad moment only to undo it. What do you think of that? Like, does it
Emotional
kind of
moment.
it sort of defeats the purpose to just go back on a character death, doesn't it?
One of those things it has to be a sad moment for the audience, and then suddenly, miraculously, he's alive.
There's some bad compression here on the Netflix version up on the right. I've noticed a lot of times when you get some smoke and kind of a gray on Netflix, you can kind of see that it's not going to be quite Blu-ray quality. It's sort
I
of
don't know if it's just your version. I see it too.
yeah, but I think that if you had the Blu-ray or an Ultra HD 4K, whatever, you probably wouldn't be the case. But it is kind of amazing that we can stream stuff in such high quality with fewer issues than even a few years back. All right. They gave the nice government men gave me a moment alone with my alien. These are not bad guys, people. Yeah, let's make sure we set the plant over here so that we can have this moment.
Anna reveals so the plant comes back to life. He's alive.
Yeah, I'll let him think I'm dead, then I'll come back to life. That's how we operate. I mentioned in my commentary track on Minority Report that a similar thing happens where the movie seemingly would have been stronger if it ended maybe it's 30 minutes or 15 minutes earlier, where you've seen Minority Report, right?
I haven't seen the movie all the way through, just kind of bits and pieces.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't ruin it then, but there is a big moment that kind of gets shot under when it's revealed to be a fake out, so that they can have a more convoluted mystery plot thing at the end. And it's a good movie still, but it seems like a recurring theme with Spielberg where there's fake out emotions to get out of the audience, and then you give them a happy ending. Tell him he's alive. Tell him you didn't imagine it. So he's faking crying his death here. We have to rescue him. Man, have we gotten enough views out of that flower pot? What do you think he's got his hand on right there, Peter Coyote? This these cone things. I saw them walk out with them. You think maybe that was a container for equipment?
Looked like a lamp at first, but it's probably something else.
What was the note she just got?
Where they're going, their plan, they're taking him out to the forest.
Yeah, we're just gonna let
The
this
mothership
kid
is
walk
coming.
into our van and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, they're not suspicious at all. And again, now the brother's confident with driving.
yeah. The whole thing about him not being able to reverse the Audi was to try to give him a moment here. The jig is up. We got to move.
Well, you put the keys in the ignition and start the car. Oh. And the tube's still attached to the back of the van, so... Whoop.
Putting on the sunglasses and
Going for a
hats.
fun little ride.
Cut him loose, Elliott. Unzip that. All these roofs, well, most of them, they got that, not shingle, but the terracotta clay roof thing. Very expensive roof, but you don't have to replace it. We got to take this plant with us for reasons. All right, here come the cops. I miss police cars having the lights on the roof. I thought that was a helpful visual for the public to understand that's a police car, because I frequently see stories somebody got pulled over and shot by a fake cop. Somebody, it seems easier to fake being a police officer now.
And did you see that a minute ago where the van drove off the road into the park? There was like a woman walking on this sidewalk on the there. She was just walking casual. She doesn't react to the van pulling off.
If I saw that and I was walking, that would have been a highlight of my day. I would have taken
Same
note
here.
of it.
They just had an extra and told her, just walk casually. Just act as if it's not happening.
This playground equipment, the geodome type thing, I'd seen those when I was a kid. Haven't seen one in ages. There's nobody here. What now? They couldn't take the van to the location. They wanted to go bike.
Maybe they figure if they go on bike, they'll lose them. I mean, if they get away in the van, sure, the van's faster, but they'll track them in the van easier, see where they're going. But you're on bicycle, police cars are pursuing you.
Well,
One's
the
going to
police
be
cars
faster than
aren't
the other.
going. They're not going to run them over, but they could go places the cars aren't going to.
Yeah, they could cut them off. Oh, always a good effect right here. We're on the hill, and the bicycles pop up right in front of them as they're coming up.
Yeah, potentially very dangerous.
It's coming up soon. I'm watching the original theatrical cut, but the enhanced version where they replace guns with walkie-talkies.
Yeah, I don't think that
I
the
still don't
Netflix
know what
version
that was all
has it
about.
replaced. Unfortunately, the Netflix version will be leaving soon, at the end of the month, and then we don't know what version we're going to have going forward. Anyway, this is a Universal film. There's no telling what platform that could be moving to.
But it's also, too, one of those things, well,
Probably Peacock, I guess, in Universal and
I-
with NBC, or is that no longer the case?
yeah. I don't have a bone to pick with Spielberg for doing that. I don't know whose decision it was, but, I mean, at the very least, he brings
Now,
back the
who are all
theatrical
these
cut.
guys jumping them? All the scientists just happen to be in the vicinity to run out and try to catch them on bike.
Maybe.
Okay, we've got shotguns. I see a shotgun. Now, I know when they start flying, that's when there was replaced. No, those are shotguns. We've got the fair
and
dinkum theatrical
away.
cut on Netflix.
Beautiful tracking shot of the neighborhood below right there.
All those swimming pools. As they head off into the sun, that looks pretty good.
Makes me wonder how far they've been flying, how long it's been.
I mean, I can see that looking a lot worse in a modern movie. This looks like a miniature of this forest that they're going to touch down on. Yeah, C. Thomas Howell. It's like, what's next for you? The Outsiders, Red Dawn, Secret Admirer. I mean, it's just a steady decline. All right, my ship has returned. Boy, am I going to get a chewing out.
Like, where is the progression of time here? It was daytime when they got away from the cops and they were flying off in the
Same thing
distance.
happened when there seems to be a magical time flux with this forest because they broke away at the sun was straight setting down and Elliott goes into the forest and it's clearly daytime and then he's riding with ET and it just magically becomes midnight. And the same sort of thing's happening again. Every time they go to this forest, it's like time just gets lost.
Could we chalk that up to editing?
I think if you went to IMDb and you looked for the goofs section, there would probably be a few complaints about the way time is relayed in this movie. Obviously, the kids are in the composite shot here. We have a miniature set down. It doesn't quite look right. The bonus is that most of everything else around them looks pretty good. Now they're going to have the full-size ship. That looks pretty good. We just do that all CGI now. It'd look like garbage. Does E.T. keep the plant?
At least we get the enhanced version in the theatrical cut.
Well, it's good that the theatrical version didn't get like a bad transfer like they had done the Star Wars movies where it was like, okay, you only get the special edition, but if you want the original, it's an anthropomorphic transfer. It's matted. It's not cleaned up, and that's the version we'll give you.
Exactly, or buy the VHS. I mean, with Disney owning the property now, not to go off topic,
well, what do they offer on Disney Plus? Can you watch the theatrical version of Star Wars on Disney Plus?
I very highly doubt that. More likely than not, it's going to be the Blu-ray cut.
They fiddled with The Simpsons too. They removed the episode with. They've removed at least one episode, one with Michael Jackson, because controversy. It seems like controversy can start up and then people start changing things. HBO had removed temporarily, as they said, Gone with the Wind from HBO Max, and now I think they added it back, but they have a woman berating you at the beginning of the movie, explaining things. Imagine E.T. getting that kind of treatment. Kids, you shouldn't flee the cops. Up next, E.T.
Takes quite a bit of imagination.
The kid does a pretty
like
good job
together.
acting here. You'd think he'd have more future ahead of him.
Yeah. But just the emotional impact, an ending like this, it's one of those things where it was just the right time for a movie like this to come along.
But this starts a big wave of movies that are for kids being big hits that don't talk down to kids, and the kids get to talk like kids do. And I don't think they're written off as kid movies. You don't see people say The Goonies, oh, that's a kid's film. Very seldom do we get something similar to a good treatment for a kids movie without it being a berating kids film. And when we do, maybe it's Pixar that does it. I don't think it's quite the same category. There was an E.T.-like movie a few years ago, and I can't remember what it was. It kind of flopped. I think it had a bit of a found footage aspect to it.
I'll be right here.
They have a pretty long goodbye right there. All right, come on, get on. We're burning up plasma here. Come on, we can't be waiting forever. Man, when you see that flower pot take a shot, that is the E.T. drinking game. You know what? That flower pot, that would be a good prop to buy. You could probably pick up that flower pot from ET for like $20,000. Oh yeah, the struggle of going up that ramp. Aliens in a Spielberg movie are generally pretty nice, right? He doesn't have bad aliens in his movies, does he?
Not in this one.
And
Nice
here's
effect
a
there
weird
with the
shot.
hatch door
There's
closing.
no one near the vehicle. Like there's no people standing by or nothing. Just instantly it's off and Elliott's not standing there. Now here he is again. Rainbow. So that's where rainbows come from, kids. There's a sappiness to Spielberg stuff no one even tries. Like this big send off, the music's kicking in. There's a lot of shots in Spielberg movies of people looking to something off camera, and that you're supposed to get an emotion out of it. And I don't even think people even try with it. Frank Marshall, production supervisor, isn't that the husband of Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah, I think so. And
So
Melissa Mathison, she used to be married to Harrison Ford.
there we go. That's E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. I hope you enjoyed. Anything else you want to say about it, Michael?
Nothing aside from just one of those movies when I'm in the mood. Just some movies just get to you right there in the heart during each viewing, and you just never get tired of watching it. I don't know if I put it on the same caliber as, say, Star Wars trilogy, Indiana Jones trilogy, but it's definitely a classic worth rewatching.
All right, guys. Till next time. Adios.
All right, bye bye.